Welcome back to the Movie World Marathon. I'm Andrew,
And I'm Mac.
and
Yay.
this is our first marathon of the year, even though at this point it's like February or March to everyone else. But this is our first
Mhm.
marathon. We're very excited. We're doing something new. We're
New
doing
year.
new year, new us. We're doing a hardcore shift from all of the fun, whimsical, magical
Yeah.
fantasy that we ended last year on and hopping right into John Wick.
Bloody gun fest.
Yep. We're doing the John Wicks. We're on the first John Wick. Came out October 24th, 2014. I didn't realize this movie was that old. I mean, it's not that old, but I guess it
No,
makes
I
sense.
know what you mean though.
Yeah, director Chad Stahelski, starring, of course, Keanu Reeves and
hmm
Ian McShane, Lance Reddick, um, Alfie Allen as Isof Trasosov, and who we got? Adrian Palicki, and Willem Dafoe, and Michael Nyqvist, and the Chaos Guy from those car commercials.
Oh yeah.
Mayhem, not
Ian
chaos.
Easterly,
Mayhem.
yes.
Mayhem like me. It's that guy. So yeah, we're doing the John Wick. This is something a little different than we have than the ones we've done in the past. So yeah, this is fun. I can't remember if you've
Yeah.
seen any of
Uh-huh.
these before.
I've never seen any of the John Wicks
Okay, well
before.
then
So
begin if you wouldn't mind.
sure. There's nothing inherently there's so many options and all of them sound bad. There's nothing inherently unique about this film, other than maybe the color palette for an action film.
Okay.
And I don't know, like I don't want to hate on it, but like there were some really cool moments
Mm-hmm.
and visually it's interesting the entire time. And like the whole like kind of returning to this underground and like we get this sense of like a deeper world that he's like returning to. All of that's pretty cool. Um but I didn't really connect with our main character
Mm-hmm.
like at all
Mm-hmm.
in the film. I felt bad for him,
Mm-hmm.
especially at the beginning. Um, but I don't know. It was if I didn't. I was interested in the story a little bit, but I was pretty sure I knew how it was all going to end because they start at the end,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you don't like
and I
that, do you?
wasn't. It depends. I think it can be used effectively. The way they used it, they straight up gave us the end. Like it's not like that he pauses there, breathes for a second, and then he goes back into combat. That was genuinely the end
Mm-hmm.
of the film. The only thing missing is that he goes into the clinic, I'm guessing,
Mm-hmm.
and takes a dog. Um, which is kind of a nice round circle moment thing, except for I feel like it doesn't really rectify the situation where like his wife got him this dog
Mm-hmm.
because Daisy was
Mm-hmm.
named after her favorite flower. I'm gonna go
Mm-hmm.
ahead and assume just like all that stuff, right? And
Yeah.
so like
I
and
so
to me, this is
yeah.
the perfect film that it tells me I don't like revenge stories.
Uh-huh.
I just don't really like revenge stories. I don't. It's not that I disagree that all those guys could or should die. I just didn't care.
Uh-huh. Okay, so I guess I should have seen this coming. Um
Sorry.
no. You don't need to apologize. Just let me paint a picture here for a second. And first let me begin with I should have seen this coming because this just tells me how much I love revenge stories because
Ah,
I love that there's no arc anywhere. There's a
yeah.
story, there is plot,
hmm
there's motivation,
hmm
there's great acting, special effects are solid, just getting some positives out of the way real quick. Um but we do not get bogged down by fluff. This is
hmm
just an amazing force of nature kind of guy. But like upon this
hmm
watch, I did find more substance, which I'll come back to in a second. Because I, like many others, love this as just a pure, you know, rage fueled revenge story. But I think it's more than that. And I'll come back to it in a second. I wondered if you'd like this though, because sometimes I consider this movie the best Batman movie that there is. Minus the fact that he kills people. Because
Yeah.
if you were to minus that, if you were to describe to me Batman, typical, or if you wanted me to describe Batman, it's how the main bad guy describes him, as just a pure force of will, like a guy that cannot be stopped.
Yeah.
The most
No,
resort
you're right.
he's got a badass
He
car.
has
He's
Batman's
got
like
all his
reputation.
he's got all his shit down in his basement. He wears black. He's rough and gruff. He's got a great voice. And like I think the movie itself is, I think, made well in that you're giving us this like I am very badass character. And oftentimes that could be so campy that you lose all the oomph. I think Keanu Reeves is perfectly cast and that it works, because if it was John Cena or Dwayne the Rock Johnson or one of those other tough guy ones, and someone was like, "Oh no, this is big, scary, strong, cool guy," it'd be like you'd just be rolling your eyes. But all he's doing is like staring and walking. Like he's not doing anything that's like overly macho. He's got the skills and he's kind of scary, and like I love the
Yeah.
part where it's like, and why did you slap my son? It's like, well, because he stole John Wick's car and killed his dog.
Yeah.
Oh, like that sets the
Oh,
tone immediately. It is
it does.
so funny
Mhm.
every other time, but the first time it's like, oh, like, and I really dig that. Like we set the tone real well.
Mhm.
That's the other thing, is like
Caught that too.
this movie is very entertaining without some sort of unnecessary humor element that a lot of
Sure.
current
Mhm.
action
Mhm.
movies, Marvel, will insert unnecessarily. Despite how much I love them, I know they do that. So I appreciate
Yeah.
that they're just consistent with him just burning this guy's thing down. And I, in my old age, I have found I can't really do disaster movies anymore because I get caught up in the loss of
Mm,
life.
mhm.
But movies like
Mhm.
this, when they're all career criminals who have chosen to be a part of this life, I don't give a shit.
Mhm.
And I think it says more about the kind of character you're showing us with John Wick when he's like, ladies in the literal prison safe, get out. You're not a part of this.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, cool guard that I must have known at some point in my past, why don't you take the night off? Like,
Mhm.
even though they're all fucking crazy criminal people, he's like a good guy, and I really dig
Mhm.
that. Like, even
Mhm.
after Perkins, attacks him, he's like, maybe
Mhm.
just hold on to her for now. I hate that she kills the other dude. What's his name? Henry?
I do too.
I like
Henry,
Henry.
yeah.
Everyone loves Henry. Everyone I've watched this movie with is like, oh, I liked Henry.
Yeah.
Because Henry was cool.
Yeah.
So,
That's, I think, the first thing she does that solidifies her as a bad guy.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like even like the whole, breaking the rules and being a spy or whatever, like that's kind of par for the course
Uh-huh.
in the film like this. And
And you
then she
killed
like just
Henry.
kills him. And it doesn't feel like
Yeah.
she needed to. And
No.
he's dead. And
Yeah.
that's sad.
I do really dig when there's like I really like codes, and because I love the Oceans movies and their codes, but like I like
Mhm.
in this world, and we get more of it in the second one where it's like dinner reservation is when you've got dead bodies
Mhm.
all over the
Mhm.
place. Like the concierge guy is great. The
Mhm.
concept of the Continental, I dig all of that.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
upon this watch, this is where I'm painting the picture. I know I've been talking for a minute. I just want to try to lay out where I think the substance is. Upon this rewatch, I realized a character like John Wick will stop at nothing to avenge people he cares about. Because he's the kind of guy, he's not the kind of guy who's going to listen to your problems. He's going to
Right.
fix it. He's one of those guys, for sure. But it's because that's
Mhm.
all he maybe knows how to do. And his wife dies due to illness. There's no
Mhm.
one to blame. So
Right.
it was upon this rewatch where I was like, I don't think this was even about the dog. And I know he says as much. It's not just it's because it's a dog from his wife, but I don't even think it's that. I think it's like he's this is pure catharsis. Like he finally found something to fight because he couldn't fight what took his wife because there was nothing to fight.
There's something there. Kind of in the same way, jumping to the end, the big bad, what's his name? Vigo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he absolutely commits suicide via John Wick.
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the film. Like, and that's something that's said directly. It's just he gives up his son, sort of like the, that big moment. And like you could argue that giving up his son is the only logical thing to do, kind of like trolley problem style.
Yeah, yeah, for
John
sure.
Wick is John Wick. He's
Right.
gonna get the kid. If
Uh-huh.
you don't tell him, he's gonna kill you.
Yep.
So one of you makes it out of this, or both of you die. You choose yourself because you're the one that can make it out. There is a trolley problem logic to that, but I don't think he can forgive himself.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
he knows kind of what's coming if he kills John Wick's friend, and he kills John Wick's friend, which he does in part because he wants revenge for his son, but also fully knowing the consequences and fully knowing that there was nothing he could do to stop Wick from getting revenge on his son for killing a dog. So
Mm-hmm.
knowing exactly what he's getting himself into. So
Mm-hmm.
like I definitely see that happening with Vigo. So I can definitely see the sort of catharsis thing coming from Wick, which means that there's absolutely like motivation or character conflict happening under the surface. And I mean, they caught on to a fair amount of it too, right? Like the fact that he has to use a sledgehammer to dig up his past,
Mm-hmm.
and that's being shown over top of the stories of his history, and the audience is understanding what he's left, how hard he's worked to leave it, and now he's willingly, ferociously digging it all up so that he can take it out and be that again.
Mm-hmm.
And you're hearing how epic and crazy and scary he was as that guy. Like, there are moments that are really good in this film. I just don't latch on to it, I don't think, as a viewer. Like it's one of the thoughts I had, and this is so mean, maybe, but I feel like the film is very male gaze.
I'll give you
Like,
no, I'll give you that. I will give you that. I don't think you're wrong about that at all. Um,
yeah.
and I see from my perspective, I don't I like to think I don't get too into the male gazy thing because I'm not really into guns. Like the way I can tell good gun fights in a movie when I see it. Like there's not a lot of shaky cam. Can appreciate that.
And
Um,
you get big
Big
shots in the
shots,
conflict too.
yes. Uh
I
huh.
love it when you get because like constantly going back and forth between like an actor and a gun and the other
Mm-hmm.
actor and the gun, you get no tension
Yeah,
there. It's just
and
fake weapon.
yeah, and
When they're pointing at each other constantly throughout the scene, that is engaging.
right,
Anyway,
and
sorry.
dare I say realistic gunfights, and that people aren't
Mm,
blasting back through windows and stuff. Like they get shot, they
mm,
drop. But I what I like is believable amounts of very successful actions. Like he
mm,
is knowledgeable, he's skilled, and he's got resources. So he's kicking ass, and I like watching the
mm,
successfulness of the kicking ass, while with enough of that movie tension of like, oh, the little weasel slipped through my fingers. Oh, I got stabbed. I need the doctor.
mm,
I need like he's
mm,
not a god, but he's also the dude, and I just I
They managed to make him undefeatable and human in the same
yeah,
film,
because
and
he's
that's pretty
and it's
skillful.
also I think there's a really interesting little message here about friendship because if he didn't have a friend like Batman,
He would have
he would
died.
have died. Like, yeah, he would have lost multiple times. Like, it's not even a movie of straight up convenience. It is he's got some healthy connections because whatever the hell kind of hitman he was an honorable one and made a bunch of really good friends.
Mhm.
So like, I do, and I'm excited to watch the rest of them with you because I've not seen anything beyond three, and I only saw three once. And three is one I have some issues with, which we'll talk about in a couple of weeks. But I
Mhm.
find this world very intriguing, and this first movie sets
Mhm.
up some really interesting threads to follow.
Absolutely.
The
Mhm.
continental stuff, the gold coins, all of these weird little businesses that exist within this underground. I can't help but wonder if Jimmy is the cop that quickly grabs the call if someone calls about the John Wick residence, or if
Absolutely, that's the vibe I got.
or if the police are just aware of this world and that they don't
Mm, mm,
mess with it.
mhm.
Like, because a lot of this stuff is quote unquote hidden. Like, the Continental is just there. You know what I mean? Like, it's not super, like, these guys live in, like, regular places.
Well, and I feel like it's also pretty realistic too. Like
Mm-hmm.
cops to your average citizen feel pretty intimidating because they're geared up and they are the arm of the law. But cops deal with citizens. They
Mm-hmm.
don't deal with soldiers or
Yeah.
hitmen all that often.
Yeah.
They call in extra forces for that. So like it made sense to me realistically that they would have some knowledge and either be crooked or just like that is so far out of my
Yeah.
pay
Yeah.
I couldn't
You
even imagine trying to respond to
yeah.
it.
You working again
Yeah.
or just taking
Yeah.
care of business? Okay, cool, cool. But yeah, I mean, I with so far what you've said as far as like either critique or just observation, you're not wrong. Um, but I do think as far as shall we say male gaze movies go, this would be I think one of the better ones, maybe just because I the
I agree that
character,
it doesn't feel very toxic or anything,
yeah,
other than the fact that it's a revenge story, you know, it's
I
which yeah.
I I walk away from a movie like this thinking like, no, all those other movies are wrong. I would definitely feel better after ending that little weasel's life. You know, if he killed the dog that my dead wife had sent me, like for sure, easily. Because I was gonna ask you, because I thought this movie was very successful in portraying that. Would you have felt fulfilled in any way if at the end of that, after all that, John was like, no, I won't let you change me. Take your life and live it, Yusuf. Like, would you have felt good after all that?
No, because he killed so many people on the way
That
to his
yeah. See,
target.
that's part of it. That we talked about. We talked about that with the Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. You didn't kill the main bad guy, but you killed the janitor on the way here. Like that's ridiculous.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
there is that. And but I wanted to mention I like that he gets the second dog because that's him choosing to go on living with the
I
same
agree. I
thing that his
don't
wife had like conveyed to him.
yeah, if you look at the story as like his wife gave him good advice. He got an excuse for some catharsis, chased it, you know, achieved his ends, and then at the end decides, actually, I am going to take my wife's advice and, you know, try to heal with a companion. It all makes logical sense to me. I think it's good. I like that he brings a new dog. Does he name the dog Daisy as
I don't know.
well?
I think from what I recall from the second one, again, this just I'm not sure. I think he just calls it dog. Let me
Okay,
double
that's in
check that
character. That's in
because
character. I'm fine with that.
I think the concierge because he brings him with him when he goes back to the Continental. I won't get into the plot, but he goes to the Continental in the second one, and the concierge is like, "Does he have a name?" And I think he just says dog. Like, let me.
No, well, okay. While you're looking that up, I also there are a couple of things that I should mention that I liked because there are some cool things. I like that it's kind of an act of random greed and violence and ego that starts the whole thing. Because if the story is gonna be a story about revenge, which is kind of ego, kind of you know a whole bunch of things, then I like that it's almost kind of tit for tat.
Mhm.
Like you know he's getting revenge in the style at which he was harmed pointlessly and angrily just because it feels good. Um, and then they managed to make me attached to that dog real fast. I
Right?
was so sad. And
Yeah.
she crawled to
I
him as
didn't
she was dying.
I didn't realize that until this
Oh my
viewing.
god.
I
Oh,
I had every time I had seen this, I thought that was his blood. It was this viewing I realized that she was only injured and she crawled over to
I was
him.
watching that with my cat on my lap
Yeah.
after she had pushed her way onto my lap because she decided it was time to cuddle,
Uh-huh.
and I almost cried.
Yeah. Well, partner was watching with me and was holding our dog and she did cry. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
was a cute
I
little
don't know
dog.
if I buy going on a dozen murder spree after my dog gets killed. But if I
You
were
got to add
John
you got to
Wick,
add that extra bit though. You got to add that your partner died just a couple days
I
ago and
understand
yeah.
it. I
Uh-huh.
do understand it.
Yeah.
Um, it's you know I okay. I looked this up, and it's possible that I'm missing the pronunciation element, but I'm pretty sure they got the name for boogeyman wrong in Russian.
Baba Yaga. Is that a
Um,
witch? It's a witch.
Yeah, Baba Yaga is a witch,
Uh,
specifically an old woman who runs around and eats kids in a house made with chicken legs at the bottom that runs around.
right.
Um, but the word in Russian for boogeyman, it starts with Baba and it has kind of like a kaya sound at the end, but
Mm.
it's not Yaga. So I don't know if maybe there's a pronunciation thing where they are saying the actual word or if
Baba Yaga.
somehow they've used Baba Yaga instead of the actual word. I don't know. It distracted me the whole film.
Oh, I see.
And not like in a horrible way. It's just every time there's a Slavic bad guy,
Mm.
Baba Yaga is what they say, and it's never consistent
Uh,
to the Baba Yaga that I am familiar with from folklore. So, like every now and then it's an old witch character,
mm.
but largely it's just like the scariest thing in the room is Baba Yaga. And I don't know. That I assume there's a pronunciation thing that I'm missing for that, but it did distract me a little bit.
Fair enough.
Um, let's see. Oh, I hadn't gathered until someone summed it up for me. I think it was probably Vigo. This was basically a really bad week for him. I thought more
Mm-hmm.
time had passed between the death of his wife
I
and the
think
dog
you
and getting the
definitely,
dog
yeah, you
and
definitely assume that unless he lays that out, and it
mhm,
does help put that
mhm.
extra into perspective
No,
of
it's
what has
like
been done.
he goes to his wife's funeral, he gets the dog the next day, he has the dog for maybe a day and a half, and the dog gets killed. Like, ouch.
Mm-hmm.
I understand maybe making impulsive choices that require sledgehammers, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's tough.
Yeah.
Um, they do manage to make gun choreography look like sword duels at times, which is
Mm.
really cool.
Mm-hmm. I like the
There's a
bit.
lot that's really cool about this film,
Yeah, you just
and I
couldn't
want
connect.
to like it.
Yeah.
I and it might have something to do with being tired, but I usually don't fall asleep watching movies. I fell asleep 3
Oh
times
my
watching this.
god.
And I went back and I rewatched it from the point that I had left off
I would
every
not consider
time.
this movie boring.
Well, I think it's because I wasn't emotionally invested. I was
Huh?
like, he's just gonna kill all of them. He's gonna get what he wants, and he's gonna kill that guy, and then he's gonna watch his wife's video, and he's probably not gonna die. And that was exactly what
Okay.
happened.
I would say if you didn't know that this was a marathon, I think the movie sets up fairly well that you put together halfway through like we're watching the end of his story because like what does he have to live for anymore kind of
Hmm.
thing, you know what I mean? Like
That's fair. It probably the first time watchers had a little bit more like confusion about how that end was gonna go. And when he decides to get up and go in the clinic and take care of himself, it is kind of like a surprising choice. If you're looking at it from that lens. I'll give you that. And I also didn't know the one part that did have me invested. I couldn't tell if Marcus was going to turn on him or if he
oh,
was
were
just
you waiting for a
helping
double
him.
cross?
I was. I was expecting a sort of like, well, I couldn't let them get the bounty moment. And it ended up not being that. It was
Mm.
just really genuine. My note is exactly I cannot decide if this guy is genuinely trying to
Yeah,
help Wick or if he just wants
I
the
think
bounty. And then later I added, well, now I feel bad for doubting him.
yeah, the very first time when Wick is resting in his room at the Continental and Willem Dafoe Marcus sees Perkins come in and he shoots. At first, yeah, you don't know did he miss because he's rushing to
Oh,
get
I
the
he missed
bounty.
on purpose.
Well, no, like
Absolutely, he
you
missed
know
on
for
purpose.
sure. But like the first time I watched it, I was like, now wait a minute,
Mm-hmm.
did he miss on purpose to warn him, or is he rushing to get? And I think they set it up pretty well. And like by the time he's being suffocated and Marcus is just taking people out to help him, yeah, it's not ambiguous anymore. But I think that very first instance is like, okay, this could, like you said, this could go either way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a bit of a I'll give you something. I think the movie drags a bit after Yusuf. Not is it Yusuf? Yeah, the kid. He's not a kid, but the dog killer dies because at that point I'm good to go. I hate that they go
Mm-hmm.
kill Marcus, and then we have to have a little miniature revenge story. You know, from
Mm-hmm.
there, I kind of feel like, and maybe that's now because I know he doesn't die. I think the first time I watched it, I was more invested in that chunk because I was like, "This is the end. This is like how are they gonna
Mhm,
kill him?" Now I'm like, as you said, Vigo has given up.
mhm,
Mayhem is just he won't shut up, and we're losing yet
mhm,
another car. Like he just keeps getting these nice
mhm.
cars and losing them. So I will give you that the second half or the fleeting end of the third act is maybe a little bit at worst unnecessary.
See, I did kind of lose my, like, energy, I'll say, after we get the dog killer because it was kinda like, "And that's what we
And we're
needed to
done.
do."
And we're done. I
Done. And then the Marcus bit happens, and that's when I became re-engaged. Actually, probably
really
more
okay.
engaged than I had previously been engaged because I kind of saw what was happening
Mm.
with Vigo's character
Mm.
and the dynamic, confirming that Marcus was genuinely just an ally, and then losing him to a guy who is intentionally killing himself just through hitman means and revenge. Like, I kind of let's just say I did not fall asleep after that. Like, I was
Okay.
kind of
Okay.
locked into that part of it, but that had, in my opinion, more emotional swing. Like, there's more tension in a scene about a guy who just gave up his kid, essentially killed his kid, and then is angry about it, and so he kills a guy he knows is a part of the problem and also going to guarantee his own death. And then he and his men are still making an effort, at least on the surface, to get out of Dodge. But there's that conflict. Like, is he going to get what he wants? Is he going to decide last minute he doesn't want to die? Like, is John Wick going to have some sort of like big moment with him? I wasn't a huge fan of the fist fight. I felt like that was kind of dumb because neither of them were big brawlers in the film. Like, there's obviously like physical, like melee, you could say,
Mm.
but it's not necessarily the chosen tool for either of them. I don't feel like so.
Mm.
I don't know. It didn't feel super solid to end on that. But in general, like the character dynamics were a little bit more alive, I felt, in that last act of the film.
Sure.
I don't know if that's just me, but
I get that. I think for weirdly for me, I don't think we spent enough time with Marcus for his death to ever hit as hard for some reason as Henry's, even though we spend no time with Henry. I always feel sadder about Henry. And like with Marcus, when I get really into it, I'm always annoyed, like for sure. But I think when you like do the math with this kind of movie, the second he betrays his boss, it's like, well, okay. I feel like I know where this is going, maybe to an extent, and it's frustrating.
sure.
But like,
I was
and
kind of thinking that being John Wick's friend might grant him a little bit of clemency,
yeah,
but
and I think I'm a little bit torn on how Perkins is dealt with because the Continental takes care of its own, which I like.
Mhm.
What is his name? Shane something or other, but Blackbeard, if you will. I think his character in all three of the movies I've seen him in, he's very interesting. The manager of the Continental, who is given John Wick info left and right, despite supposedly not being supposed to. Very interesting. However, I don't know. I for some reason I don't get as much satisfaction out of John Wick killing Vigo as I would him killing Perkins. Cuz Perkins was this little problem shit this whole movie. Like she's why
I
Marcus
see
is
that.
dead. Like and so that I think would have been interesting too. But like it makes more sense that the Continental takes care of it.
I kind of like that the Continental takes care of it. It solidifies the world that they had established underneath
Yeah.
or around John Wick.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't know. It's pretty simple. I have one page of notes
Yeah, and no,
from
it's
that.
it's it's not a deep movie for sure. I think it's.
Oh, sorry, you finished what you were gonna say.
I
Mine
was
is a
just.
divergence.
I was gonna say. I think it's just. It's either the highest budget simple movie, or it's almost like a independent film that they put everything that they had into it, kind of thing. And obviously, I know it's not.
Mhm.
It's a big budget blockbuster, but like
No, I got that
nothing.
vibe from
Yeah,
it too,
it's
actually.
not campy. It's not overdone. It's very. It's polished. It's poised. There's a style to it. It's consistent. The music's pretty cool. It's I think it's just I consider it one of like when people bitch about like there are no original movies anymore. Granted, now we just said it's over 10 years old, sure. But when I think about like what did the 20 teens give us like as far as like new movies, John Wick is up there, man. He's one of those ones that they'll watch 30 years from now as like their 80s equivalent, and I think it's fair. He's a cool character.
Yeah, but it's in the same category as like kung fu fighting movies for me, in the sense that there's not a ton. There's character behind it. There are characters who are feeling things behind it, but I don't feel like there's a lot of plot or story happening. It's just kind of like, here is Guy. Guy is unhappy and will kill a bunch of people about it. Once he has killed the right amount of people, he will walk away successful with some sort of injury or possibly die at the end. But either way, he has done his job by killing a bunch of people.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what it
And
feels like.
I
Um,
love it. That's, sometimes at the end of the day, not everything has to be Dune Messiah, man. Every
no,
now and
and
then,
you're right.
you
You're
just need,
absolutely right.
you
I
just
just
need a
don't
little
think this
bit
is my
of,
cup of tea.
you just need a little bit of John Wick every now and then. Just a quick glass of water. That's all you need.
What I was going to point out, and I think a couple of things you pointed out, there were a few shots that, because of my, I guess, sensibilities, I didn't super enjoy, but there are a few times where they make the death and the violence almost artistic, where like
Yes,
it, the way
I
that they play the
agree.
music under it, and the way that they like, I don't know, even some of the gore and like the lights and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was uncomfortable with that because I never want to think of people dying gruesomely as art, but the the style was very clear, like you were talking about. It's a very kind of compact film that has kind of a unique visual and interest while you're getting a close, simple story.
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked up a few people to try and figure out what it was, and I think I figured it out. It was edited by, ooh, I'm going to get this wrong because it's not a name I'm familiar with. Elizabeth Ronaldsdottir, I believe.
Oh.
Um, she edited Deadpool 2, The
Ooh.
Fall Guy, Bullet Train,
Ooh.
Shang-Chi, and
Okay. Okay.
those all seem to match the style that I
Mm.
think I saw in this
Yeah,
film.
I can see that.
So, like, Fall Guy and Deadpool and Bullet Train are all kind of comedy heavy in comparison to this, but I
But
think
they
Bullet Train
are
and
there's fights. There's
particular,
big.
you can kind of see
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Shang-Chi absolutely in
Uh
like the
huh.
way they frame the fights and some of the choreography. I mean, choreography wouldn't have been her, but like just, apparently one of the things I looked, because I was looking things up, apparently she has a stance where close frame action shots aren't as good as like further away action shots because you can actually see what's going on
Yeah.
in the
No.
further away
I
shots.
like her
And I'm like, yeah,
perspective.
that feels really obvious to me.
Uh
I'm
huh.
glad you're fighting for it.
Yes. Thank you.
um yeah, but like Atomic Blonde is one that I've actually have watched, and that kind of feels very similar to this one. Atomic Blonde is a bit more sensationalist, I think, is what I want to say, than John Wick is. But it has a very similar sort of like, here's a character who's really badass. They're gonna go around and kill a bunch of people and do whatever they want. It's also got some cool music and lots of colors, and that's kind of like the style of the John Wick film, the same way that Atomic Blonde kind of had that going. So
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting to identify a person's style and their imprint on a film in that
Mm-hmm.
kind of way. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This would have been her first film like that. So,
Cool.
mhm.
Did she work on the other ones as well?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Oh.
I wanted to know what other franchises she had done,
Mm.
because I was trying to figure out where I had seen it before, or if I had seen it before. And yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I didn't check for the other John Wicks, actually. I should have.
I don't remember a whole lot about the third one. The second one has some incredible fight scenes. So that'll be exciting
Mm-hmm.
to take a look at next week as well. I do think maybe what you're hoping for is explored a great deal more in the next ones. Um, because it's due to his actions in this one that results in what kicks off like the next one, and it is very story driven within this realm
Yeah.
of the underground criminal world. It's
I
not.
assumed that there'd be more substance, for lack of a better word, in the rest of the franchise. Not like a whole ton, just that if they're going to build a franchise out of it, they
Mhm.
probably have to do
Yeah,
something
they
more
can't just keep.
complex than just
Yeah,
man goes on
they
spree.
can't just
Yeah.
keep killing dogs, and that would get old.
Yeah.
Um, I like I said, I have some issues with the third one. We get into some really weird
Okay.
stuff, and I feel like there's things that they completely ignore, even though it's not bad. Like on Rotten Tomatoes, like they're all considered really good. I think that there's something they missed that makes it bad, but that's
Oh,
I could have missed something as well because I only watched it the one time. The second one, I think a lot of people consider the best one.
okay.
So that'll be fun to watch and talk about.
That really is the story of a sequel, isn't it? It's either the best of the franchise or the worst of the franchise.
Sometimes I because
Tough.
they take a lot of this one, and I think like we say they dial it up to 11, and I think
Hmm.
it
Is
works
it
in.
kind of like obviously not the same genre, but it kind of sounds like Terminator Judgment Day in the sense that it takes all the good successful elements and really uses them well.
I would say to an extent for sure. We go
Okay.
international. There's a bit of that,
Okay.
so we get to explore another continental because it's actually not just a one thing; it's a franchise almost, if you will.
Ooh.
Um, we see the inside of other aspects of the company, shall we say. Like, so in this one, right, Vigo puts out a contract on Wick. In the next one, we see what that entails, what that looks like, what the process is, who does that, and how do those people get contacted that a contract is put out. Because you can't use the internet
That is interesting.
in this world. So
Hmm.
we explored that. We spend more time with the allies that we know, and I think we meet maybe one or two others. Um, without getting too into it, this movie, obviously, it's alluding to a working John Wick. A character in the next one is able to finagle him into being now again working John Wick. He's not on a vengeance thing. He is doing what he used to be
Tired.
doing. Yes. And there's some interesting stuff about that. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
with yeah, and the villain, shall we say? So, like, I think you'd say in this movie, there's the villain, and there's the shithead that we're dealing with the whole time. There's kind of something like that in the next one.
Umbridge.
Shall we say? The umbrage of the next one, if you're considering Voldemort the villain, um,
Hmm.
the umbrage is way more interesting because
Okay.
the umbrage is another John Wick essentially.
Ooh,
So
okay.
how do we deal with that? Because he's got his own stuff going on, kind of thing. Very interesting, more compelling for sure, because it also raises the stakes as far as he can hold his own in a way that Perkins couldn't, in a way that Yusuf couldn't. So that's exciting. Um, and I'm just trying to think. There's some really cool cinematography in the next one. There's a shot that CinemaSins took Sins off for. Not that that means anything, but it is visually beautiful, and I like watching it. I clocked it as well that it's a really cool moment. Um, and there's some big world building lore stuff that is introduced right away, explored, and then my issue with the third one is that I feel like it's forgotten. So we will
Mm, hmm.
take some good notes in that little notebook of yours because we need to revisit it in 2 weeks. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
so yeah, I'm very excited, and then I know where the third one ends, so I know like what the fourth one is revving up to do. I have no idea what happens. Same with Ballerina, so maybe that's gonna be an example of
There's
gross.
like a is it TV prequel for the Continental? I
There
didn't know
is a
that that
show
was a
about the
thing.
Continental. Yes, I have not watched it. I don't know anything about it. But through concept, I think that sounds very interesting. I like the Continental a lot.
Agreed.
That's another
I
thing
could
that
even
we
imagine
do.
it being like separate episodic bits where it's
Hmm.
just like, here's the thing that happened at the Continental once. Here's another thing that happened at
Yeah.
the
Oh
Continental.
yeah.
And like
Oh,
maybe you'd have some
that'd be
repeating
so much fun.
characters.
Uh
Yeah.
huh.
That's what I
Yeah.
would do if I were in charge. I'm not in charge, so who knows what they did, but
That
that's
that
what I would
is
think.
that is something that we dial up to 11 in the second one. Is a dinner reservation. You got dead bodies around, right? Going to dinner yourself. You want a wine selection. Wine meaning guns. Can I interest you in dessert?
Mm,
Maybe a bomb. You know, like
mm,
there's some really
mm.
cool because he has to go to the armory. He has to go to the weaponry area.
Yeah.
Like there's some cool shit in the next one for sure, and it all maintains that really interesting code language. So it's very
Hmm.
fun. I think other than the absolute joy I get from unadulterated successful revenge, I do think the second one is better, and it'll be fun to talk about.
I don't know. I don't have the opposite of that per se. I sit there and I'm like, that's a lot of violence. That's a lot of
Yeah,
people dead.
I see. It's in my mind though. It's people who signed up for that life. You know, like he doesn't kill anyone
That's
innocent.
not logically wrong. And that's the same sort of argument that I would use in any other action film, you know? Like I don't really have an issue. I don't even really have a moral issue with him killing the guys. I just don't I don't know. Whether or not he wins is not well, for me, watching this one because I knew there was a franchise, it wasn't really a question. Obviously, he's going to live, and he's not going to live until he's killed the guy. So, ta-da! There's the end of the film. Um, but then there was also just sort of like a, I don't know, like if he does die, live by the sword, die by the sword. I guess that's it. Like I don't know. I just wasn't. There wasn't any real reason for me to want him to succeed beyond. I was also sad about the dog, and I don't know if that. I mean, maybe I'm just too goody two shoes for this. I'm too lame
Yeah,
for this
I'm
film.
surprised that the dog is not enough for you, knowing that it's a crime lord family. You know, like would it does it
Yeah,
help? Does it help at all if this was Spider Man and Kingpin had killed his aunt? You know what I mean? Like,
mm,
because you know the
maybe
Kingpin's
because
bad, and like
Spider-Man and
you're,
Kingpin have history
but
in a negative
they have
way.
history in this world.
Yeah, but like clearly they have like respect for each other as people in the business.
I guess
Okay.
tentatively, since they both helped the other.
I don't know. It's not that I have even like a moral issue with it. It's not that I'm gonna sit down and be like, John Wick is actually the bad guy because he killed a bunch of people over a dog. I'm not saying that. I just don't emotionally attach myself to his
Mm,
arc.
okay.
So since that's all there
That says
is
that
in a very
says
artistic and
yeah.
simple and impactful way, I just kind of miss
That
it.
either says something really good about you or it says something really bad about me because I eat it up, man.
I
Oh.
don't think you're alone, if that
Mm.
helps. Like, I think a lot of people enjoy this because of the simple revenge aspect. I just wonder, I'd be genuinely interested in like a gender poll, of, like who
Mm.
likes it more, guys or girls. And because I can
Well,
definitely imagine
yeah.
girls I know liking this film. I just don't know if that's the standard or if there is a genuine gender element to this. I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised because he's a big, dark, brooding, mysterious man who loves his car and he's got a bunch of guns in the basement and they pay for stuff with solid gold coins and they're out there
Yeah.
drinking bourbon instead of taking his meds. Like, yeah, he's a man's man. Like, I
Yeah.
no, I get it for sure. And I'm not, I'm not getting posters of John Wick. I'm not gonna have action figures of
Hmm.
him, and couldn't tell you what kind of gun he uses because I don't care for guns. I see that's the weird sad thing about me is like I don't really care about the gun. I just love that these terrible people met violent ends. I don't care how. Like he could have been throwing sticks as long as they penetrated.
Yeah,
Like
that's
that's
kind of dark.
yeah.
That's
No.
kind of dark.
See, because I think for me, if I were to give myself any amount of actual slack here, it's because of movies like Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, where the vengeance is there, it's deserved, and it's on its way, and then for some stupid reason, the writers are like, no, we're gonna write in quote unquote growth, and this movie was like, fuck that, we're just gonna do it, and I'm like, you know what?
Well, and I
Yes.
would agree. Any film, particularly like one that has some sort of moral to share about not killing people, any film like that recklessly damages or harms or injures the goons of the bad guy, uh you actually are it's kind of like this is such a I don't know. No one's listening anyway. It feels to me kind of like classism or like racism, where we've decided that the only people that matter are the people
Oh,
that are
are the
named
yeah, the name?
characters.
No, 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 no. I totally agree. I see it too. I
Yeah.
see it too.
And then like all the extras don't really count as people,
Yeah.
which is a really, really bad way to view the
Uh
world,
huh.
because then the only people that are
Yeah.
people to you are the people you're in direct contact with,
Mm-hmm.
rather than like those
Mm-hmm.
who are
Yeah.
living next to you but not
We,
interacting with you,
McKin
you know?
Mac, we can slaughter the Red Guards in The Last Jedi, but we're gonna save Ben because he looks cute
I
sometimes.
know. I
Yeah.
know.
No, I totally get
Okay.
you. See, speaking since just because Willem Dafoe is in this, I'm honestly torn 50-50 when it comes to whether or not Spider-Man should kill Green Goblin at the end of No Way Home, because it's meant to be
Mhm,
a powerful
mhm,
moment when Toby
mhm.
stops Holland. And people complain about that. From a Spider-Man perspective, I actually really like it
That's a very
because
Spider-Man move, yeah.
well, see that's the thing is people were like Toby gets in the way of Tom Holland's Spider-Man learning that lesson for himself because like the Spider-Man that has already learned that lesson is trying to help this Spider-Man from having to learn it the hard way. And I can appreciate that from a superhero nerd point of view. But you put me in those tights and that motherfucker
Mhm.
kills my parental figure that I actually care about, I don't give a shit if you're me from another universe. I'll kick you in the nuts to get you out of the way, and I will skewer that man. Like, I'm not messing with that. I don't see growth in
Mhm.
that he gets away with it. Other than in this instance, there was an actual out for the innocent man behind the goblin. In this world, like I think this is a very well layered vengeance story that is undercut. I thought of it because it's Willem Dafoe. But like, yeah, I mean, like you talked about with other movies, where it's just no, and now we will come together. Now we will grow. You know?
It's the same reason that logic is the same reason why I actually kind of dislike the faceless enemy. Like they do it all the time in film. Zombies are really big on this.
Mm.
Stormtroopers are a great example of
Oh,
this.
for sure.
Generic army men whose faces are mostly covered. You see those guys all the time. Particularly, and this one's interesting. They'll cover the faces of enemy soldiers in an army movie, even though our army members on the other side, the side we're cheering for,
Mm-hmm.
have completely pale faces, maybe aren't even wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
Like that's just that is there's a psychology to that where the filmmaker is directly but subtly telling you these people don't matter and
Mm-hmm.
their deaths are morally
Yeah.
fine. And then a lot of films will go on with the audacity to say, but this guy who we hate specifically because they're the cause of the problems,
Mm-hmm.
that guy will
Yeah.
save. And that
I'll give
that
you
is logically and does bother
yeah. I'll
me.
give you a good one. Guardians 3 does that. Because we kill those
Mhm.
horrible animal robots. We kill those scientists that have the computers in their heads when we're trying to save Rocket. But then when it comes to the high evolutionary, we'll spare him
Mhm.
because I'm a freaking guardian of the galaxy. Bitch, please. This man is a monster. And you've
Mhm.
killed so many people. But now.
I could honestly believe that at that point he'd be like, not that there's a change of character, he'd just be like, I killed a lot of people today and I don't feel like killing anymore. I could believe that, honestly. But I just it's
For Rocket, I
the
could be like,
inconsistency. Yeah.
I could see him being like, I don't feel like killing anymore after that one. Like, because like he killed, you know,
Mhm.
he killed Lila right in front of you. He tortured you. He tortured all these other animals. You've been killing people left and right,
Yeah.
and now
You're 100% right. Yeah.
I don't like how they do that. So yeah, for me,
So,
this movie is
mhm.
cathartic
The
because of
fact
all the
that
other
John
ones.
Wick doesn't do that. It's very much like there's a moment where Yosef almost kind of tries to plead. He's like, "It's
Mm-hmm.
just a dog," and he gets shot in the face, and you're like, "Good, he's dead."
Yep.
And then to continue that on with Marcus and Vigo, like that's all. That's good. And the fact that the movie is like consistent to itself, and even kind of has that small bit about like, is John Wick going to live a life? Going to for or is he going to change and actually grow as a person? I don't know. It works.
We just don't love it.
We just don't love it.
Would you give it as a grade?
It'd be one of those things that I give a pretty good grade, even though
It's not your
I
thing.
didn't necessarily like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like this is one where to me it's probably an A movie, but it's not a whale.
It's not a whale. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
for me, obviously,
Because
it's a
to me,
whale.
like whale has an element of as I personally enjoy this film, I think it is good.
Mm-hmm.
And grading system is a bit more impartial. So like it's a perfectly fine film.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't necessarily care for it.
Okay. Interesting. That's no, that's totally fair. I because like I everything you brought up, I can totally understand. I totally get, and you're not wrong about the majority of it for sure. I think it's in this weird way, it's a comfort movie for me almost.
Mhm.
Because like you said,
Yeah.
it's just very well done, interesting lore, interesting world. You know.
The lore is really intriguing, and that's the bit that I kind of got caught into for a while. I liked the Continental quite a bit, even like the bit with Perkins. I almost said Paladecki. Um, like there's interest and intrigue in the layers created by this underworld, um, and it's not even that the motivation for Wick isn't compelling. I guess I'm just not compelled by it, like
Maybe,
personally.
maybe this is one you watch by accident again in a year or so, and maybe it hits different the next time. You know, that happens.
Yeah, yeah. Watch it when I'm real angry at something, see if it changes.
Maybe, you know, you just need
Mhm,
to take some rage out. Yeah, so
mhm,
we'll
mhm,
see. I'm intrigued to see what ballerina is. If that is
mhm.
another example of male gaze to the point of grossness, or if it's a different kind of perspective. You know,
Right. Mhm.
be very intrigued.
I have no idea what to expect, so going in kind of tabula rasa.
Yeah, cool. Well, I think that's a good place to end for now. You know, we kind of stretched it. We kind of got to the end of most of our points like 15 minutes ago, but it was good to talk about other examples of I think
Mhm,
disappointing revenge stories because it is
mhm.
it's a cliche in movies, and it's I do think it's a genuine flaw to abandon a righteous quest, shall we say, for vengeance. You just
Yeah, if we're gonna have a character go through a revenge arc, let's do it thoughtfully.
mm-hmm,
Like in the sense that either they are going to successfully complete their revenge, or while they're completing the revenge, they run into enough moral roadblocks that it makes sense logically at the end that they wouldn't follow through.
yeah.
Not just sort of like a revolutionary as I stare you in the face, I'm suddenly changing my entire personality
Mm-hmm,
arc. That's still
mm-hmm.
so yeah.
Good stuff. Well, on to the next. That's us for now. Cool.
John Wick 2. Does it have a name? Just John
I
Wick
think
2?
it's John Wick Chapter 2.
Okay. That's good. I like that.
Cool. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.